Hey everybody, welcome to the Thursday live stream. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I've been doing a lot of camera heavy work today and my camera has been overheating. So it's one of the perils of using the dummy battery for the Sony A6400. Is that if you use it for too long it might get a little bit hot, and it's no longer winter here. So I'm working on ways to fix that, but in the meantime, if we lose my face, luckily I'll be doing mostly screen sharing stuff. So thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to be doing, I'm going to be working on a workshop for iThemes, where I basically cover kind of like advanced HTML and things like that, putting together the slides and the topics and stuff like that. Before we get into that, I do have a couple of asks for you. If you're not, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Or if you want to get even more fun tips, you can head over to buildsomething.email, sign up for the email list, and you'll get weekly free emails with insights and links and recommendations and things like that. So I put out a lot of content this week, so you'll get a nice summary of all of that content in buildsomething.email. So that's that. The last thing I want to mention is my latest YouTube video is how I set up a certain automation to blink my lights when someone does a super chat. And so I was testing this, but if you want to try this out and make my lights in my office blink a certain color, super chats and super stickers are enabled on this channel. If you're not super familiar with the functionality in live streams and premieres on YouTube, you can pay $1 or more to have a sticker or a chat posted and pinned to the top of the chat. So that's what super chats and super stickers are. And depending on how much you pledge, my lights will blink a certain color. So I'm really excited. If you want to try that out and see it happen, I will be very surprised, because it's an automation thing. So that's that. Now, like I said, today I'm going to be working on a few things. There's a lot of stuff kind of going on as far as all of the things I'm working on is. I've been reading a book called The YouTube Formula. So I've been doing a lot of research into YouTube and making it work. That's how I learned a little bit more about super chats and automations and things like that. So let's get right into it. I'll switch to this screen. This is my latest newsletter. GarageBand is yelling at me. Sorry about that. Yes, don't use, just quit out of this. Okay. So let me open up Craft here. And this is where, oh, hey, look at that. The lights are blinking. Thank you, Matt Medeiros. I really appreciate it. So yeah, the lights are blinking for the $10 super chat. Buy a Fujifilm camera. They don't overheat. Duly noted. Maybe I will do that because my best performing content is the Sony A6400 video. So if I make a new one with a Fujifilm camera, I'm sure it will do really well as well. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. If you don't know about Matt Medeiros, and who doesn't if you're watching this live stream, he's, the customer success guy, I want to say manager, over at Castos. He's the reason I use Castos after I've been thinking about using it for many years. So I'm happy to be on Castos, and that's thanks to Matt. All right. So this is my my YouTube videos content board, or this is craft, I should say. This is where I do a lot of my content planning and things like that. If I go over to webinars and workshops, I have a workshop called WP Foundations. This is for iThemes members. So people who are part of the iThemes membership. And I just have a description. They have a landing page over on their site. But it's a 3-day workshop, 9 hours of content over those 3 days. And this is basically where all of my planning has gone. So I have an outline for each day. And I need to put some thought into actually putting together everything. And part of what's going to be helping me a lot is my book, HTML and CSS, a Visual Quick Start Guide. I basically went through this book. This came out in September, so it is pretty up to date. And I went through this and I kind of figured out what will be helpful. And so the iThemes audience is familiar with WordPress. They probably use page builders or Gutenberg to do a lot of their development, but they want to know helpful code things. And so for day one, I'm doing advanced HTML. My assumption is that they already know the basics of HTML, but we'll go over some terminology and best practices. And then I'll teach them about things like structured data, doing some form validation. I know that there are a bunch of plugins out there that do that anyway, but it'll be good to know that sort of stuff and how it works. And then we'll be going through kind of other advanced elements like polyfills and stuff like that, offline storage, and lazy loading. Lazy loading in particular because lazy loading of iframes just got rolled into 5.7, right? And they've been lazy loading images since 5.5. So understanding a little bit about how that works will be super helpful. Then we'll be talking about improving performance, accessibility testing, and version control. And of course, how to customize HTML in WordPress. And this is not full site editing. So plugins that can help you do that, child themes and themes that support custom HTML, the custom HTML widgets, and then what that looks like for full site editing. So I'll have to put a lot of thought into at least this part because full site editing is a moving target. Day 2 will be going pretty deep into CSS, and I'm doing that because I think that CSS is where you can. I think it's probably the lowest barrier of entry for customizing WordPress, and also where you can do the most as far as customizing the theme goes, right? Because there's literally a place in the customizer for custom CSS. And actually, now that I'm thinking of it, when you have full site editing enabled, I don't know where the custom CSS would go. Interesting. But so I'm going to be going pretty deep on the CSS stuff and targeting elements, how fonts and colors work, the layout stuff, media queries. Media queries will be less about responsive design now. Like, I think that you need like a whole other 3-day workshop on this. But you see more themes integrating dark mode, right? Like Anders Noren's latest theme, I think it's called Eskel, something like that, has dark mode enabled, and that's a media query, and I think that's really cool. 2021 obviously has that. We can talk about advanced CSS, and then again, using CSS in WordPress, and there's kind of 3 ways that I lay it out. And even like the child theme, probably just adding a custom CSS sheet is one of the easier things to do, right? Because if you have a child theme with custom HTML, you still kind of need to modify the loop and things like that if you're using a Genesis theme. You still need to be familiar with like Genesis hooks and stuff like that. But with CSS, you set up the functions file the right way, and then you add style.css, and you just write CSS. And then finally, we'll be going into, on day 3, PHP. And I actually have a course on LinkedIn Learning called PHP for WordPress. So this will be like a stripped down version of that, where we kind of quickly go through what programming looks like, setting up local environments, and then tapping into WordPress. So like the loop, WP query, and hooks, and then how you would use PHP in WordPress. So those are the things. There's a couple of things I need to do. And the first is set up a GitHub repository. So I'll have sample code. I could possibly be writing sample code. Oh, excuse me. And so I want to create a new repository here. We'll call this WP Foundations. How about iThemes WP Foundations? iThemes WP Foundations. All the code from the March 29th through 31st workshop. Local path will be in Dropbox/code. That's where I put everything. Initialize with a readme. Git ignore. Don't really need to git ignore because I'm not like installing WordPress here. And the license will be the GPL. Technically, I think WordPress is GPL v2, but GPL v3 is just fine. I think. I'm not a lawyer. All right, so we got the repository. We'll publish that repository over on github.com. Don't make it private. This is going to be open because this is just where all the code's going to be. Okay. So this is really, when I was doing the code for the book, which is also freely available on GitHub, keeping track of it was kind of a pain because I was writing code for the book and I was also writing code for a set of videos. So like if we look at that repository, pull origin, what changed in origin? Big diff. Fetch origin. I don't know that I should change this. I don't know what happened here. But I'd like to open it in Visual Studio Code. Yeah, there we go. Oh. This shouldn't have happened. Yeah, so you can see like each chapter has its own folder for explaining things. I think probably the code for each video is also in here within each chapter. So this was a lot to manage. I don't think, I'll basically just manage the iThemes repository where I have maybe a folder for each day, right? And so for the README file, probably just copy this stuff. All of it? Can I copy it as Markdown? I've never actually tried to do this in Craft. But let's see how it goes. Oh, it copied the Markdown. Hot dog. Love it. And that'll be like the obnoxious README file. It's fine. WP Foundations Workshop. Save it. So the first thing I'll do is I'll create an HTML directory. I'll create a CSS directory. not a subdirectory. Yes. And then a PHP directory. PHP directory. Can I like reorder these? I can't. They're in alphabetical order. So maybe I'll do day 1, HTML. Day 2, CSS. And day 3, PHP. This is, I tweeted a while ago, like, if your life was a TV show, what would it be and what would the synopsis be? And basically, my life would be a sitcom, obviously. And the synopsis would be like, watch Joe struggle over making minute decisions. Like naming these folders in such a way that they show up in the proper day order and not just alphabetical order. Or like struggling which hamper to put the dirty towel in. A thing I didn't struggle. It wasn't like a struggle, but it was not, I didn't just throw it in the closest hamper. You know, I thought, oh, should I throw it in this one? But all the towels are in the other one. So that's like basically, it's basically the stuff I think about. Okay, so we've got the repository set up. Thanks for anybody who joined. Since this live stream started, I appreciate it. If you have any questions about this or about how I'm putting the workshop together, let me know. Drop a comment in the chat, and I will see it and I'll post it. Or if you want to see my lights blink like Matt did, you can try the new super chat function that's been enabled for the live stream. So only costs $1 and you can make my lights blink. Okay, I can get rid of the giveaways part. That doesn't need to be part of the GitHub repository. That's only for live attendees. Okay, so I'm going to go back to craft here. Starting a new project is always what I struggle with the most. Starting a new project is always what I struggle with the most. I have a hard time starting. So, usually with presentations, I like to start with a story that relates it. I probably won't start with the story here. The people have joined this workshop to learn tangible details, and I've got probably about 2 hours. I would say I probably have about 2 hours to teach the content, and then an hour of answering questions or maybe building a demo or something like that. So I'll start. Let me open up Keynote. This is interesting because I don't want to give away the whole... I mean, I won't get through the whole presentation in the next 30 minutes or whatever, but, I don't necessarily want to give away the whole presentation or the whole workshop, which I certainly won't. But, I want to try to walk the line of putting the content together and not doing all of the content here free on the live stream. So I'll start a new presentation. I'll pick my template. Talk theme. Excuse me. 2021 talks. Bigify this. Something I forgot to do because I was late today is move all the chat stuff to my iPad. So let me do that quickly for you, mostly for me. And I'm on Big Sur now, so I don't really remember how to do that. There we go. Connect to Joe's iPad. And then I can move some of this stuff over there. Move the chat. Go away. Okay, move the chat over here. You probably see me moving around nothing. And then I'll just unplug this bad boy. Move him from the hover bar. Put him in the Satechi stand right in front of me. So now the Ecamm Live Chrome is not obstructing anything, but I could still see the chat and things like that. Okay. I'm also going to head over to the iThemes website to see what they have called this. Training.ithemes.com. Using free webinars. This is the free stuff. Huh. This might be slightly harder because I'm not actually an iThemes member. So I'll have to look in my email, and I don't want to show you that. You don't need to see two of me either. I should probably set this button up so that when I switch to this camera, all other cameras go away. So let's see. I want to find something with iThemes. iThemes. Spark just crashed. It's the second app to crash on me during this live stream. I hope it's not Big Sur. It's fine. I'm getting some M1 Max very soon. Some M1 Max. If you're curious about that, why I don't have a laptop behind me, it's because I traded in my MacBook Pro. I exchanged it through the Apple recycling program, and assuming everything checks out with that, they will be providing me with about $1,300, which I will then convert to an M1 Mac. I'll put that towards an M1 Mac. An M1 MacBook Air specifically. And I thought about maybe waiting until the Apple event, but I already miss having the laptop. As much as I'd like to think I can work full-time from my iPad, I have a hard time doing it. I have the 11-inch. I did have the 12.9-inch, but I sold it and bought the 11-inch because I'm using it more for like the secondary display and taking notes and things like that, but I'm not really working from it. I can see that just doing a search for iThemes is not good. What if I do? I think they do all of their stuff through WebEx or not. I should have probably pinned this, which I didn't. Let's see. WP Foundations. There we go. The WP Foundations Workshop is what they're calling it. Cool. Let's go to webinar. It's not WebEx. Okay. So, share my screen again. Bring me to the bottom here. Okay. So Keynote, WP Foundations Workshop, HTML, CSS, and PHP. And then I'll put my name here. Text expander's yelling at me. And then I will add a link to my website, Korg/WP Foundations. So I'll need to make that landing page as well. Body small. Still white. Okay. And we'll reduce the size of my name. Let's make it look like we're learning HTML, CSS, and PHP. Joe Casabona. No. All right, so we've got the title slide. WP Foundations 2021-03. I've started naming my presentations like that because it's easier to find things that way. What's next? What do I want next? What? Where? All right, so I guess we want to start out with an outline of the things that attendees will be learning. Workshop outline. Day 1, HTML. Day 2, CSS. And actually, this is advanced HTML. Day 3, PHP for WordPress. And I'll indent, but I'm not going to do like a full-on bulleted list because that's going to take up too much. So, structured data, forms, structured data, forms, advanced elements. Forms, performance, accessibility, testing. And then for CSS, targeting, box model, fonts and colors, media queries, animations, and then PHP for WordPress, basic syntax, output, control structures, arrays, objects, functions. I love this Ship's Whistle font. This font, called Ship's Whistle, was designed by Dan Cederholm. But there's no bold font face for it. There's no bold face for it. So if I want Ship's Whistle to stand out, I need to add a background, like a highlight color. And, there we are. Splendid. Will that do? Yeah. What color is that? Save that for later. I sure wish this wasn't hidden. Move that over here. That'll come in handy lots of places. Okay. So yeah, if I want this to stand out, I need to highlight it. Which, why? Why does this include the line height? Now I remember why I didn't do this in the first place. Ligatures. None. Baseline. Oh boy. Oh, that's so frustrating. This is why I didn't do it last time. I made a presentation. Oh, there is a bold face. I might have just totally lied to everybody about everything. Except, how about that? That's weird. If I select bold, it doesn't do it. But it does if I select the bold face. Weird. Anyway. Great. I'm glad you went on that journey with me for no reason. And this is all going to be within... that shouldn't be its own slide. It should just be a footnote. Within the context of... Could this be its own? Yeah, because then I can be like, I'm going to teach you this. And then within WordPress, using HTML in widgets with plugins and with a child theme, adding CSS through the customizer, capital C, and with a child theme, and writing a plugin with PHP. I will not be showing anybody how to use a plugin to insert PHP, because don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Really wanted to drive that point home. Don't use a plugin to insert PHP code into the WordPress dashboard. Please and thank you. It should be shortcodes or blocks or something else. Okay. Within WordPress, I feel very strongly about that. I consulted with somebody and they were like, so we need to do all this stuff, but like we have a lot of PHP in the classic editor. And I'm like, your first thing you need to do is remove that. And they're like, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, I can't help you because I can't help you. Okay. Oh, and full site editing. So ... with a side of full site editing. All right. We've set the ground rules. The moderator will mention everything like comments and questions and things like that. So I'm just going to dive right into it with day 1 HTML. And then set some ground rules. Ooh, add a survey. So this will be at joec.live/iThemes/HTML. Need to make that survey. I'm going to do that right now. Oh, the question goes here. The link goes here. Splendid. Lowercase j. How much work have you done with HTML? So I'm going to start each of these workshop days with a question that could be answered via a survey. That survey will be built with Swift polls, which is a lifetime deal I got from AppSumo. Okay. I will create a new poll. How much work have you done with HTML? Then the answers will be none at all. I I've done some modification. I've built full web pages with HTML within or outside of WordPress. And I probably know more than you. All right, so I'll create this poll. I'll tell people to elaborate in the chat. So this is web. I don't really like any of these, but if we preview this, like, why? Number purple 1. Okay. Launch this poll. I will get a link. It is right here. And then I'll add this to josie.live, so you'll get to see how this works too. Which I've done a YouTube video on how I built josie.live. This is basically just like an exchange station. I'm using WP Landing Kit with a bunch of different domains, mostly my live domains. But then I also have the 301 redirects plugin installed. And so I will add a new redirect from /iThemes/HTML, redirect to this permanent redirect, add the rule. So now, splendid. Okay. So now I'll go back. What am I doing that for? Okay. How much work have you done? Go to josie.live/iThemes/HTML to answer that question. All right, and then I will add the ground rules. I'm just going to copy that verbatim from the document. Okay. My assumption is you already know the basics of HTML, but we'll go over terminology and best practices here. So I guess I should have a dictionary slide. Which I can do, right? Because I actually have all of the terminology here in my handy dandy book. Really glad I wrote this book for the workshop. Okay, so who is this book for? How is it structured? Code. What is HTML? So I don't need to go over what is HTML. Yeah, actually. Stand by. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, we probably want some terminology here, I think. Just so we're on the same page. Terminology. Then I will consult my book for the exact definitions. Because what is the point of being a teacher if I can't use my own book, right? So this is basic. Okay, HTML syntax. Okay. So the whole statement. Okay. So an HTML tag is something like this, right? And I'm not going to write out the full definitions. I'll just explain it. But an HTML tag, right, is the opening or the less than sign and then the element that we're looking for here, which is, again, not the right word. It's some character. In this case, a P. And then the greater than, or the closing tag, right? And so this is the paragraph tag. Element is the opening tag, some stuff, and then the closing tag, right? So this is a paragraph element. This is a paragraph tag, or the closing paragraph tag. That's unclear. Closing tag. And then here's the element. Attribute is another one, right? And so if we wanted something like lang equals en, how do I prevent smart tags again? Sure wish I knew. Highlight this as red because this is the attribute, which is a key value pair. This specific attribute, of course, will set the language. So, yeah, so maybe I should do this. Right? I'll double check my book again. Okay, so probably should have a marker there. Let's see, one of the most common HTML tags is a standard HTML tag. It starts with a less than sign followed by the letter P. Greater than sign taken together, this constitutes a tag. Note that HTML tags work in pairs that frame the content. The only difference between the first and second is the slash. This denotes the closing tag and treats it as a unit. The whole statement creates an HTML opening tag, content, closing tag. All right, and then attributes we've got covered. And we don't need to really define comments here. So that's the gist of what I'm trying to say here. Just so that when I casually mention tag or element, people watching will know exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully, if I'm consistent. Okay, so we've got our terminology here. And best practices. What are best practices? I could talk a little bit about semantics as best practices. But that's like a whole lesson in and of itself. basics of, but we'll go over some well, let's just say some terminology. Because again, best practices is like its own can of worms, right? We don't have, maybe we have time for that. Maybe I'll make a slide for the end if there's time for that. But that is the terminology slide that we're going for here. Okay, my water bottle's yelling at me. Okay. So what's next? What do we got? We got about 10 minutes left here. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. I hope this is like helpful or interesting content at all. I just figured that it would be interesting to see how I kind of put these things together. I do a lot of educational content. I probably should have said that at the beginning, right? Like, why should you watch this? And it's because I do a lot of educational content and people are often interested in the process. So, I mean, I might just be putting together a keynote presentation, but hopefully as I'm thinking out loud, this kind of helps you see how I think through teaching a particular concept or anything like that. So I hope this is helpful. Okay, so we've got our poll, our terminology. So let's get right into it. Do I want, now this is a WordPress foundations. Should I want to, maybe I want to mention scenarios, where custom HTML might be worth it. Custom HTML in WordPress. You want to display content a specific way, especially with the HTML widget and HTML block. You need to embed something. This is also just kind of a first draft. I will be refining this and all of the slides probably up until the moment I give the workshop, which I think the first one, I know. The first one is Monday, the 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern. You need to embed something onto a page. You want to modify the way the loop displays content, right? And actually, you know, while I'm thinking of this, I thought full site editing, what am I going to do with that? But I mean, let's just open up the full site editing page for that. And so here's the index, which, what kind of block is this? This is the loop block, query loop. So like you really don't even need, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that, right? Because you have this information here. Gosh, how does this work? I need to figure that out for my Gutenberg course. But boy, let's do a more concrete concept. So is post content is a block. Post date is a block. Author is a block. So like you can add custom HTML here, but it's not really going to affect, like, so you have the code block, right, where you can add. What kind of code? I'm I just like read you the riot act on adding PHP. But will this allow for it? Echo hello world on date, year, month, day. I will flip out if this works. I will flip out. Not in a bad way. It's just crazy. It really makes this workshop all the more relevant, right? Okay, no. So this is just right. This is not executable code. This example that they give is misleading a little bit. Display code snippets that respect your spacing and tabs. Okay, so the actual description is not misleading at all. The example. And to my knowledge, all right, so we can add a query. But yeah, there's no like executable code section. There's the custom HTML block and the shortcode block. But that's good. That's good. Because we don't want people in the admin to be able to execute code on the server, because test your code. Okay, cool. But anyway, so we can't like add HTML. All of the post elements are their own blocks, right? So I can't write like get the title or whatever. Okay. Good. Thanks for coming on that journey with me. Well, we have about 5 minutes left before I wrap things up here. Turn my camera off, give it a break. Turn my voice off, give it a break. But I just want to kind of nail down the direction. Where are you, Keynote? You want to modify the way the loop displays content. This would be through the use of a child theme, right? So, or maybe you want to add snippets, not snippets, markup to the header or footer. This would be in the form of like the Facebook Pixel or Google Analytics or something like that. So you might want to add that. Understanding how that works is important. Okay, so now let's jump into our topics here. HTML outline. Structured data. Fun with forms. Other advanced elements. Offline storage. Lazy loading and polyfills. Best practices. No, let's call this performance, accessibility, testing, and adding custom HTML to WordPress. Okay, we have a good start. Thank you for coming with me on this journey of starting a project. It's always the hardest part for me. The first cut is the deepest, as they say. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the super chat, so thank you again, Matt. And yeah, if you have any questions about this or the workshop, I'm giving the workshop next week, but I'll do more kind of watch me work stuff or try things out on the live stream. So if there's anything that you want to see, let me know. I really appreciate it. Again, if you liked this video, please, 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 whoops. Oh, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's happening here. Are you mad at me? It's always good to have those technical difficulties, like right at the end here. Gosh, that's super weird. I don't know what happened here. In any case, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did like this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more great content. Be sure to sign up for buildsomething.email. And until next time, get out there and build something.